Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the New Day podcast, where we get to talk about anything we want to related to life or the church. And we are really excited to have a special guest on today. This is Amy Horne. And Amy, I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself, kind of who you are and what role you play in the New Day family.
Sure. So I've done our kids ministry for several years now. And I was a teacher before that. And we opened a preschool here at New Day about 5.5 years ago. And I helped open that, and I've run it ever since. So I'm the director of that. And then we kind of had a vision to open a K-5 school. So we're expanding into that, and I'm kind of leading that and directing that as well.
Awesome. So how long has the preschool been around? When did we open that?
August 2017, so 5.5.
So 5.5 years ago, we had a vision. Really, you kind of came to our leadership team with this vision of kind of having a preschool that's kind of based around, just good values and the scripture. And man, you guys have done just an incredible job. My kids go there. John,
Yeah.
You got a kid in there?
Yeah, yep.
And I'm sure it's blessed many of you who are watching this. And so kind of this vision has expanded a little bit to this idea of a K-5. So talk about kind of your heart for, you got a good thing going. We got a preschool. Like why expand it? Why take on the work?
Sure, yeah. So the preschool has been a big blessing. And one of the main reasons we started it is there was just such a need in the community with long wait lists everywhere. And then, you're waiting forever to get into a school that, you may or may not like. And so we saw a big need for that. And it's been really successful, and we've gotten good feedback from that. And we've loved it so much. I don't feel like I ever go to work a single day. And so I just love what I do. And then the last year or two, kind of just the idea got thrown out there about a K-5 school. And it felt like a big dream, but kind of because we'd already done the preschool, it felt like attainable, I guess. And we, again, just kind of feel like there's a big need, and we feel equipped to meet it. I think that a lot of parents in our area and just kind of where our culture is at and things like that are just looking for another option for their kids. And a lot of parents came to us I wish my kid could stay here forever. Are you sure you don't want to open a school? Things like that. And we just kind of feel like the vision that we have, we just feel called to it, to create a new type of school that can meet another need in our area.
So you talked about vision, and I think that's a good thing to talk about. Kind of there are private schools in the area. There's some public schools in the area. So kind of what makes this New Day school different in your mind or in your words?
Sure. All schools, no school is a one-size-fit-all for the most part, right? And so I think there are a lot of good schools out there, but I do think our school uniquely is very student-focused. So child-focused is a big part of our school, and just making sure that they're having fun is a really big part. And I feel a lot of times when you send your kid to elementary school, it just feels like they're just sitting in a desk for so many hours with a teacher that you don't really get to know, and they're spending most of their time with them and things like that. And I think it just feels very, almost stiff in some ways, and we just kind of feel called to a child focus where they're getting to play a lot. They're getting to do hands-on experiences and things like that with a teacher that's warm and friendly, but also qualified, and a teacher that can, the parents can know. So, you can drop off in the classroom, you can spend some time getting to know them. And so you don't feel like it's this stranger that you've met 2 times and they taught your kid for all of first grade, It's somebody that you personally know and trust with your kid. And I think that that's something that our society's just gotten really away from for some reason, where you just send your kid off to school and you don't think about it anymore. But we really are a very family-centered school where we want you to be as involved as you want to be. And we want the learning to be really intentional and fun.
Absolutely. So John, I want to ask you kind of have a vision for this as well, and this has been on your heart for some time. So you've been a champion for a school. Why is this needed? Even thinking from a cultural kind of Christian perspective.
Yeah. So what's interesting is we all have kids, and so that's a unique thing as well. And so, got some skin in the game, and we're thinking about that. And it's very real. And so we know what parents are feeling like. And I think one of the things that Amy has mentioned a lot is, and I totally agree, there are some great schools out there, but a lot of times parents feel like they're settling for their kids' education. It's I like some things about this, but some things I don't, but I have to go with one of the options that's available to me. And so as you were talking, James, about there being some schools in the area, I think that, or just, and not just in our area, I think in most places you go, like you've got a few standard kinds of options. And so one thing to note is we're in the city, so we're not in the suburbs. So especially when people are living in the city, that becomes like a concern as to kind of the quality of school that your kid's going to have. I think probably most places the options are you go to a public school, and those kind of vary in terms of, kind of the quality of those schools. And I know in our community, there's, there are some that people would want to go to, but they're hard to get into, or you get kind of priced out in terms of can you live close enough to be zoned to it. And so there's like public school with lots of variation. And listen, public school can be a really great thing. We all went to public school, I had a good experience for the most part. But I think today it's different. I think we're learning not like a fear-based thing or whatever, but just like there's just the world's kind of chaotic, and I think we've experienced that through COVID. And so I think that you have like public school, which is kind of like there's some benefits, but maybe some things you're just quite not sure about. Once again, maybe not feeling connected in different ways. The other option is there are some Christian private schools. The ones that we've looked into tend to either be like very, 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 very expensive, or maybe kind of more like a different spiritual tradition that you want. And so it's very like kind of like high church or Catholic or, and so what happens, I think, is kids go there and maybe there is some level of kind of spiritual formation, but it's kind of maybe not relevant to like the life that they're going to head into, or they're going to see like, okay, there's like church and faith, but that's just so different from my normal everyday life. And so I really think that we all have a shared vision for a school that is good academically. That's important. You have to do that. That's fun, like you said. And so I know why we're doing that is we have 2 recesses. There's 2 recesses. Yes. Enrichments. It's like school shouldn't be boring. Your kids should not hate going to school.
Third grade me is just so excited right now.
Yeah, I don't want to suck the life out of a 5-year-old.
Yeah,
you should be like enhancing
like
that.
School. Like we can do better for our kids. We were saying like they go there for 6,000 hours of their childhood. And maybe your kids like they kind of speak into like middle school or high school or college more, but like elementary, we make the decision as parents. If you're a parent, you're making that decision. They're not really making that decision. And so that's something we have to steward for their good. And so what's their experience going to be like? But then also that forms their child spiritually in a relevant kind of way. And so undeniably, maybe somebody wants more of like a high church traditional, going to mass and things like that for their kids' spiritual formation. We don't want that, right? We want more of like a spiritual formation that is biblical, but is also very relevant for the life that they're heading into. And that's the part for me that I'm very passionate about, as a pastor. I always go back to like, sometimes we have to like rethink things and like reverse engineer and not just go with whatever we've always gone with, because like if the point of education is to prepare kids for like adulthood, like I'm a pastor and I walk with like adults through their stuff, and most adults are not struggling in life because they don't know enough facts, like they're struggling because of like their life or their marriage. I got anxiety. And so I think that, school could be a place where we're more mindful of like the world they're heading into. And because it's like new and we're smaller, we have the ability to kind of pivot to the needs of the students, as opposed to maybe a really big school district. It's just top down, like it is what it is. It's so standardized. I mean, like when we're like it's standardized amongst like 100,000 students, like that just can't be personal. Everyone's passing the same test. Or maybe it's more of like a long-standing traditional environment where it's like, it just kind of, we always do the same no matter what happens. And so I think this is a cool opportunity to really think about the world that our kids are heading into. And I know Amy will do a great job thinking through that from an educational perspective, from a fun and experience perspective, but also like a spiritual formation perspective. And so, and I do want to say what's interesting is like, I think with the preschool, that was really cool because there was a need there. And we did that, and you've done a great job with that. But I think in a unique way, maybe you even have probably more vision for an elementary school, because this is a little bit more rare. Like there's a lot of churches that have preschools. There are not a lot of churches our size or like replants that have a K-5 school, And so I think for us, this is a very unique thing, but something we have a lot of vision for. It's not just we want to have a school to have a school. And it's not even just like we're desperate, like we have to have this or, whatever. It's like there's like a really good, exciting vision for this that we don't think kids are going to get anywhere else, right? Like there is there is like an implication for where you send, I mean, you've done a great job with the preschool, but there's preschools, you send them there, they watch them, do a Bible story, whatever with them, this is like, I think going to be a really like a new kind of school. And I think that you're going to do a great job with it. So I did want to ask a couple things though, for you, Amy, even just thinking through some other things that kind of make the school noteworthy. Just real talk. Cause I know probably parents watching this, like part of it is like as we're explaining this, I'm getting excited. I'm sure parents are listening to this. They're like, well, yeah, if I have that option, why would I not do that? But talk from a financial perspective, because that's some real talk, like what, it's like, this is free or this is very expensive. Where is this going to fall financially in the market, would you say?
It's really kind of the way we've priced it. Our goal was to be like the most affordable we could possibly be while not like sacrificing the quality. Because obviously, like a private school is not receiving any state funding. And we still want to be able to pay our teachers well so that we can have good teachers and have good curriculum and materials and facilities, things like that. So the price that we came up with, and we did a ton of like market research too, is really the most affordable school in our area. That's like a 5-day-a-week school. I mean, you have some that are like the part-time and they're a little bit cheaper, but this is pretty much as affordable as you can get. And we believe the quality is, top notch. So we really found in our budget just ways to like make sure like what do we value the most? And then, because we're new, we don't have all of those like extra costs that maybe some other schools have just because they've been around for a long time. So just really prioritizing how we did that to make it as affordable as possible.
And talk about, so affordable as possible, the facility that we're starting it in and kind of the plans for the future, like share about that. Like where is it going to be at?
Sure. So we have like a next gen building is what we call it. Basically, our kids meet in there on Sundays that we're renovating right now. So it was kind of like a unique opportunity where we were already renovating it for our kids ministry, but now it's also going to be renovated to be a really nice space to start our school. So we think it can house like K through 2 basically. And it'll be really nice, big size kindergarten classroom so they can have like a lot of space to move around. And then, at the building behind it will also be renovating. So we're lucky in that while we're a smaller church, like we do have like a good amount of space. And we have some money to make those renovations happen. So we think it's going to be like really good.
So I mean, it's like, it's going to be this, like, so you're telling me this is going to be a school with like strong academics. It's going to be a lot of fun with 2 recesses. It's going to be a relevant spiritual formation for the kids. It's going to be as affordable as possible, not way above probably most people's price range. And it's going to be in new buildings, like basically like new facilities, right? And then also it's a local school. We're in the Greater Oak Forest community. One more thing really quick, and then James, I want to hear some of your thoughts too. Walk us through a normal day in the life of the school. Like you send out like a schedule, like so parents can visualize it or think through it with their kids, all the way from like, what is the parents' experience like dropping the kid off, and then what's the kid's experience like, and then, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So if you go to our preschool, it's similar to that, but it'll be kind of like a next level for elementary school. But parents will have the option either to kind of do like a circle drive type drop off, or they can choose to park and walk their kid to class and kind of have those couple minutes to like talk to the teacher at drop off or pick up and things like that. So really whatever works better for the parent, if you're the one that's like rushing in the morning, which I can kind of like relate to, and you just kind of need to do a quick drop off, but then you want to park and come pick up, like that's kind of an option. So I think that's unique because a lot of public schools can't do that. They're just so big for one. I think it just makes it hard. So being able to have that connection, you can walk into the school. It doesn't feel like you're just sending your kid into like some far off land. And then as far as the school day goes, we've always like for the preschool, a big focus for us is having like that good balance of like learning and play where they're getting to just like be kids, but there's also like structured time. So like we're preparing them educationally and just like for school structure and things like that. So the way we build our schedule is very intentional to where they're not sitting for like 2 hours in the same spot, but, they might sit for a lesson and then go out for morning recess and come in and do some learning centers with their friends and some independent work and then go to an enrichment class. So their schedule is always broken up really well, because I think something that has become more popular in recent years, but is hard to implement in schools where maybe you have so many regulations and so many certain minutes you're required to do certain lessons, is, just like making sure they get the brain breaks that their bodies need, because kids just they can only take in so much at a time. Like, our attention spans, even as adults, can be pretty limited. Like, you need to be engaged. That's why when you're making a sermon, you make sure okay, it's been serious for a little while. I'm going to throw in a story here or a joke, because you're trying to keep your audience captive.
I don't do that.
And
what are you talking about?
These are very engaging preachers, so I know that y'all think about that. And the classroom is so much more like that because they're kids.
8 hours, yeah.
Their attention spans, and what they're learning is not maybe the most exciting thing in the whole world. So making sure that you're really intentional about how you structure your day is really important. And we make sure that they're really getting everything they need academically, but they're still getting the breaks that their bodies need. And I remember feeling as a teacher, sometimes I felt like I couldn't fit it all in, but then sometimes I was I feel like we're just filling the day and I could probably teach this a lot quicker, but I have to keep them engaged in here. So the way we structure it is they do have the standard academic learning blocks. So they're going to have language arts and they're going to have math and science and history. We'll also do a Bible every day in the classroom. But they'll also have a morning recess and an afternoon recess. We have a different fun enrichment class Monday through Friday that they'll go to, and they leave the room for that, which I think is important, leaving the room and getting that break and coming back. And then, of course, lunchtime and things like that. Their lessons are engaging to where, the teacher's doing some whole group teaching, but then they're also doing some learning centers that are more hands-on, and then they're also doing some independent work. So it really is a good balance of the different learning styles, while also incorporating a lot of fun throughout it.
That sounds like an incredible day for a student, to have 5 days a week. And I like that too. It's definitely going to be a couple of things. Yeah, definitely small, which is good, and so 15 to 18 kids per class. And part of that too is regardless of what the academics are, there's probably a number where it gets too big to where even if it's solid academics, it's probably a kid learning something is more about the attention they get than the quality of the content at the age of 7, it's that one-on-one, does the teacher know them? Does the teacher know where they're at? And so once again, it's good to be a big school. There are probably some benefits to that, but there's probably a lot of benefits to a small school. I know one thing too that we've talked about that's probably important, just because if there's any parents that resonate with this, it's funny, even when you I think on the website it says a K through 5 Christian private school, I kind of cringe when I see that, just because when we say we're doing a Christian private school, I just think what strums up in people's minds is probably not what we're thinking. In some ways it is. It has the Christian values. Obviously it legally is a private school. But kind of not stuffy. That's not stuffy, no uniforms. I'm sure there's gonna be a dress code to some degree, but there's not everyone's wearing collared shirts unless they want. If you want to wear a collared shirt, send your kid in a collared shirt, If you want them wearing khakis, put them in khakis, but no dress code, an intentionally more casual, laid-back environment, I think that is going to relate with the world that they're going into.
And while still being legit, because I think the other side of that is then some private schools you're this is kind of weird. Are they really and we're really somewhere in the middle, where it's we're still legit, but we're not stuffy. And I think that's a good middle.
Yes, but I've even been thinking about that too, where it's it's funny, I know school for a long time is preparing you for the real world. But part of it is when you look at the real world now, it's a lot different than it was, And so, but yeah, absolutely. It's legitimate in every way, but there's just more of it's a fun environment. We care about the experience that your child has. And if we're stewarding 6,000 hours of their childhood, this needs to be a good environment, and any way in which we can make that experience good, we want to do. And one more thing I will mention too that I think is really cool is I do think it's going to be obviously you're going to learn the things that you have to learn. It's going to be formational in all those ways. But I think that the school that we're creating, it's going to have the ability, I think, as we learn things to pivot as needed, which I think is a big issue right now. Even businesses and churches are learning this, like what we're experiencing in the world today is not like a blip on the radar and everything's going to go back to normal. We're experiencing the new normal right now. So the new world is things happen quickly, things change, like change happens more quickly. And so I think in the future, especially for education, the whole job industries are changing, And so I think in the future, education is going to have to be able to be mindful of the world we're sending the kids into and almost kind of reverse engineer and pivot as needed. And I think that we're going to have the ability to do that in a way that's not crazy. I know we experienced that, and I feel bad because when my oldest went to school, we were in COVID or coming out of COVID, and it was hard, and I felt so bad for the principal and everyone that was involved because they're a part of this big thing. Then they're trying to figure out how to manage it with all these different kind of opinions.
Really have as much control,
and they just don't know, and they're trying to do this one size kind of fits all. And so I think that as much as I maybe wish big events like that were not always happening, I think that that's going to be the world we're going to live in. And so I think regardless, whatever kind of school you're a part of, there just has to be an ability to pivot because we had never been through COVID before. Now we're figuring all these things out. So it's almost like in the world, come what may, I think that you and the team here are going to do a really good job of saying, hey, listen, this is what we're facing, and let's pray about it. Let's think about it. Let's see what other people are doing, and let's do the best thing we can do to accomplish our mission, which is to educate these kids well, to give them a good experience, to help them have a lot of fun, and also to form them spiritually in a relevant way for the world that they're heading into. So. But James, I want to hear your thoughts, man. I know you've got a kid too who's coming up, and so just honest. When you're thinking about this, from your perspective as the executive pastor, what is this? What are you excited about in this?
Yeah, well, I kind of got two hats. I feel like I think about it from one as a parent, one as a pastor. As a parent, I know what it's like in some of these public school environments that are kind of overcrowded and underfunded, and kind of the issues that they face just because of their system that they're in. Most people don't know this, but I used to be a substitute teacher in a public school system. I think I even subbed for one of your classes one time.
You did, it was crazy.
And so you're getting up in front of 40 kids, and I'm like, no one's learning anything today, And so I know there's a challenge there. So I definitely like the idea of kind of smaller classrooms and more engagement, and just honestly, a real world experience, just having Cameron go through the preschool and just seeing what he has learned at his age, it's incredible, So just to be able to extend that quality of teaching, and I know that you have some of the same teachers who are going to be at the preschool, kind of coming over here, and so it's just really cool and exciting to have that continuity. And then the other side is just as a pastor, and John, I think you said it, kind of the ability to say, hey, my kid goes to school at New Day, just this idea of spiritually forming them for all of life. And we've talked a lot about this, just spiritual formation as being very huge. And me as a parent, I am primarily tasked with that for both of my sons, to raise them up and spiritually form them and be prepared for the world, And so this idea that we're able to integrate, kind of what we do on Sunday morning with community groups and school. And so it begins to feel like an all of life thing, And I think that's going to be more and more important in the future. So I just love that aspect of it and that vision.
Yeah, absolutely. I know also what's really cool about this, and once again, I don't think this is necessarily even, probably nobody here is thinking about this, but, I think one of the things that's been really cool about the preschool to note is, even for the people that call New Day Church their home and give and serve here, is, we had a vision from the beginning for the preschool to we want this to be a school that's a blessing to the community and to parents, but also a blessing to the church as well. And it has been that in every way. And so just one very practical way that it does that is our school. It's awesome. I think we've managed it well. We're it's affordably priced, but the school, the preschool, for example, covers all of its own expenses, all of its staff, and then contributes money financially to the church every month, right? And so the church is blessed by it. A lot of times you walk into environments where there's a school or a preschool at a church, and it's just kind of not healthy, and it's kind of a drag on the church financially. And you don't want that because people give to the church financially for ministry. That's why they give for it, right? So our preschool doesn't cost our church any money. It actually contributes money to our ministry that we need. That's very helpful. And the school will as well, Obviously, it's probably a different dynamic in how that works, but this is something that it's priced in a healthy place to where it's affordable, but also it's going to cover itself and make provide some ministry funds. And so it's just an incredible thing, And I think a way that we can, being a replant in a church that has a building, like, we have, like, that's one of the ways that we leverage our facilities as a church. And now we have 3 campuses, across the city. We're a debt-free church, and we have these buildings, and our buildings do cost us money. Like we, probably if there's a church plant meeting in an elementary, we pay more for facilities, so this is a cool way that we can steward it to, one, provide something that the community like needs and wants, and that parents and families need and want, provide something for kids, but also is a blessing financially to the church. So it's just an incredible model. And because we do it in-house and we don't like outsource it to someone else to come in, it gives us the ability to really integrate it really well into like the life of the church, and also is more a financial blessing to the church. And so it's just important to note that, that this is a beautiful partnership between like the church as well as this new school that's working together in every way. And that's just one way. I mean, I know the school does different activities, like the preschool does things that the church can be a part of. It's just an incredible partnership. And so I agree, James, that it's like this kind of like holistic kind of like almost ecosystem, right, of Christ-centered things that people need that work together, that benefit everybody. So it's an incredible model. I know we do have vision down the road of maybe even like, having like maybe starting like with a preschool at one of our other campuses as well. And so that's just like a beautiful kind of thing. And we know how to do that now. So once again, it's an incredible model, and something that I hope in the future we can also maybe even kind of give insight for other churches to do the same, because it's just been an incredible blessing to us. Amy, any other thoughts? I mean, as we're thinking about kind of K through 5, kind of anything else that you want to say to like a parent who's considering this, who's thinking about this for their kid. This is kind of, even the fact that we're doing a podcast for this, I think it's casting the vision of like,
it's real.
Like most elementaries, there's not like a long form podcast you can go watch with the pastor and the director, it's like, it's the New Day School, and so it's like we're thinking about the world today. And so there are parents that are watching this. There are parents that have asked me for information. I told them I would send this to them because they're interested in it. It is important to note we have 7 spots left in kindergarten, 10 spots for six spots. So Amy, just anything else you want to say to parents who are thinking about this? I mean, you're the director, you kind of have like the vision for it. Anything that you would want to tell parents?
I mean, you don't have to take our word for it. You can come tour. So, I mean, I think that that's big too. Like, come check us out, and you can see our preschool classes that are already running and get like a feel for our school and the environment, and see, the playgrounds and things like that, so that you can really envision it. And, just know that like a lot of heart has gone into it, and you don't have to settle for your kids' education. And that's a big thing for me, is like, I never really thought about it that much until like I had kids, and especially as I had kids like nearing kindergarten, how much you like care about that, like you don't want to, it's terrible to feel like you're settling for it, or like they're not getting the best experience that you can, because everybody wants like what's best for their kid, right? And you want them to like, this has always been like a big thing for me. I had a great childhood, and I think like I want my kid to look back on their childhood and think it was like magical, like the best, and like lots of fun experiences and things like that. And that's like a big conviction of ours here, is just making a school that like really like facilitates that. So I just come check us out, and you can call us. I think we're making a video soon, and then also just come tour. Our building's under construction, but a lot of our campus is not, and so you can really get a good feel for the school and what it will feel like. And then you can also, any parents that go to the Oaks Preschool, you can talk to them, and they'll tell you about our environment.
And so it's thenewdayschool.com. That's important. So thenewdayschool.com. You can check it out there. And also I do want to say, like, even for you, Amy, like Amy is obviously going to be the director of it, and she does done an incredible job, and she's going to do an incredible job. And so much of this like is a part of kind of like your leadership. So we want to honor you for that. And I can just tell you that, if I had a kid going to school, like having someone like Amy, being in charge of the school with her experience, her background, her education, is a huge blessing. And so much of the things that we're a part of are the people that are leading them. And so the fact that you can even like know her and talk to her, that's a really important thing. You can reach out to us. What email is it? Just
it's info@thenewdayschool.com.
info@thenewdayschool.com. So any questions, any random questions, just kind of reach out, ask those questions. You can schedule a tour. All the information's online. So it's just going to be accessible. You're going to be able to get your questions answered. and bring your kid up and come check it out with them.
Yeah,
you know?
it'd be fun.
So my kids are going to be there. We're excited, and I know you have a daughter going into kindergarten, so she's going to be part of that as well. So, So once again, man, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, go check it out
Sign
today.
up.
TheNewDaySchool.com. Sign it up. How many spots left?
6 in kinder.
Or also, if you have any parents that are looking for what we're talking about for K through second, maybe you've got like a 3-year-old, but they're somewhere K through second, send this podcast, this audio, this video to them, and let them watch it, because I'm telling you, like, to find the right place for your kid for those 6,000 hours is a blessing. And the fact that you could help someone find that is incredible.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amy. Thank you, John. And thank you guys for watching.